You know that feeling, right? That invisible ceiling. You're working so hard, you're climbing, you're doing everything you're supposed to, and then wham, you just hit a wall you didn't even know was there.
It is one of the most maddening things about being an ambitious person. You're inches away from the finish line. I mean, you can practically taste it. And then, for some reason, you pull back. You mess it up. You just stop. What is going on there?
Well, the story we usually tell ourselves is pretty harsh, isn't it? We say, oh, I'm just lazy, or I have the worst luck, or the classic, I'm just a procrastinator. But what if that's not the real story? What if it's not a character flaw at all, but actually a predictable psychological pattern that affects tons of people?
Well, that pattern has a name. It's called the upper limit problem. Basically, it's this subconscious belief that acts like a thermostat, setting a ceiling for how much success, happiness, or love you believe you're actually allowed to have. And the second you go above that setting, an alarm goes off in your brain.
For our explainer, let's call it what it really feels like: the self-ghosting syndrome. You know that moment when you become the ghost in your own success story, vanishing just when things are about to get really, really good.
So here's our roadmap for gaining some internal clarity on this. We're going to start with that happiness thermostat. Then we'll look at how self-sabotage is like a shield for the imposter in all of us. We'll touch on the fear of being alone at the top, decode the brain's own emergency brake, and finally, we'll talk about meeting your success shadow.
All right, let's dive into part 1, the internal happiness thermometer. This is really the engine behind the whole upper limit problem.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Our brains are fundamentally wired for survival. And you know what survival loves? Predictability. So even if where you are right now is kind of miserable, a familiar hell, at least it's known. A brand new level of success, this unfamiliar heaven, is uncharted territory. And to that ancient part of your brain, unknown equals danger.
So here's how that cycle plays out, step by step. First, there's a trigger. You get that big promotion, your relationship gets amazing, you have a creative breakthrough, life starts getting too good. That sets off the alarm. You've gone past your happiness limit. So what do? Step 3, sabotage. You pick a fight, you accidentally miss a deadline, you manufacture some kind of drama to bring the temperature back down. And the result? You're right back where you started, in your familiar and often frustrating safe zone.
Now this pattern starts to build on itself, which leads us directly to our second point, the imposter's anxiety shield. This is where things get really tricky, because self-sabotage starts to feel like a weird form of self-protection.
This is the voice, isn't it? That nagging, horrible feeling of the imposter syndrome, whispering that your success isn't actually proof that you're good. No, it's just a bigger, brighter spotlight for the moment you're inevitably exposed as a total fraud. So what do? You ghost the win. And look at the logic here. It's a twisted but understandable defense strategy. If you quit right before the finish line, you get to control the story of why you failed. A controlled fall that you started feels way less scary than an uncertain jump where you might fall flat on your face in front of everybody. You stay safe, you stay undiscovered, but you also stay exactly where you are.
Okay, but it's not just about our own internal fears. There's another huge force at play here, the fear of isolation. Because success, it's not just a personal thing, it's a social one too.
I mean, think about it. If you achieve a whole new level of success, it might mean you outgrow your friends or even your family. It threatens the identity you've always had. And that triggers this deep, primal fear of being abandoned. If I change too much, will I still belong anywhere?
So you're left with this fundamental trade-off. On one side, you've got belonging, staying relatable, keeping the group together, feeling socially safe. And on the other, you've got becoming, reaching your full potential, standing out from the crowd, but risking that very isolation you're so scared of. And without even realizing it, a lot of us choose belonging, and we sabotage our own becoming just to keep it.
But let's get into the hard science. What is actually happening in your brain when all this is going down? It's time to decode the brain's emergency brake, the real neuroscience behind why we freeze up.
It really comes down to a battle between two chemicals. You've got dopamine, which is that amazing chemical rush you get when you're chasing a goal. It feels great. But then there's the actual pressure of getting the thing, of maintaining that success. That produces cortisol, the famous stress hormone. And if that stress gets to be too much, it can completely hijack your system.
This leads to a state called executive dysfunction. Basically, sky-high levels of cortisol cause the prefrontal cortex, which is like the CEO of your brain in charge of planning and taking action, to just glitch. It stutters, it shuts down.
And this is so crucial to understand. That feeling you call procrastination. You know, when you just cannot bring yourself to do the thing you know you should be doing. You're not being lazy. You're not a bad person. You are physiologically paralyzed. It's a freeze response, not some kind of moral failure.
So, with all of this information, what are we supposed to do? Well, that brings us to our final part, meeting your success shadow. This is all about finally acknowledging that hidden part of you that is actively working against your own best interests. The shadow self is the part of us that holds on to these ancient core beliefs that we don't really deserve success. And where do these ideas come from? Usually it's from old messages we soaked up when we were kids. Things like, don't get too big for your boots, or who do you think you are anyway? The way forward then isn't to try and fight this shadow or get rid of it. It's about rewriting the entire script. And this right here, this is the key. Success isn't some destination you just arrive at one day. Think of it more like a capacity, like a muscle. It's something you have to consciously and gradually expand. You literally have to practice feeling good and practice winning, little by little.
And that leaves us with one last, really critical question to ask yourself. After looking at all of this, the thermostat, the imposter shield, the fear of being alone, are you really, truly afraid of failing? Or, deep down, could it be that you're just a little bit terrified of how powerful, how capable, and how brilliant you actually are? That's something to think about.